All right, joining us now, she is arguably been the face of the program since she's gotten there, but certainly having another great season, leading the Omaha Mavericks to a 25-7 record as we talk. They're on a little bit of a break. They probably don't. I don't know if they're happy or not that they have a break, considering they're playing some of the best softball in the country. And I speak of Kamryn Meyer, joining us here on In the Circle on D1 softball. How you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Well, that could be my first question. Are you kind of bummed out that you're on your team is kind of on a bit of a break here? Because you've been rolling here recently here on a big long winning streak. You just swept North Dakota State in conference play, but you beat Nebraska in Lincoln, which we'll talk about. You went to Purdue and swept them. You haven't lost a game since last month. I mean March 1st. So I mean, are you kind of disappointed that y'all have a break right now?
Let's knock on a little wood first. I think I think a break is good for us, but I do think that it kind of halts our momentum that we have going. But I think as long as we continue to do the things that we know how to do in practice and putting in the time, that we know we're just going to continue once we start up. I think we play Creighton next Tuesday,
Yeah.
so we don't have to at least wait till the weekend. So I think that's good. But I think this little break is going to be good for us and kind of work on like fine tuning the little things that we need to.
What's been working for the team here during this run?
Our bats have definitely come alive. I think in the past few years, we've struggled a little bit at the plate more so, and I feel like us pitchers have had to take a little bit more of that pressure onto us. But I think this year getting to play free, and knowing that if I let one or two runs score, that our team is going to answer right back. And I mean, a prime example of that was at North Dakota State when North Dakota State came here, gave up a two-run home run. It was 0-2, and our team bounced back and scored. I think the final score was like 11-3. So I think that just kind of goes to show about the differences that we've made at the plate and pitch selection and just hunting our pitches.
How much of that is confidence from the success, especially from the returners, from the success you had last year, winning that conference championship, getting to the NCAA's? Do you think that's carried over?
I do think, yeah, I think we've kind of instilled that a little bit too in the new faces that we have on the team. But I think we know that we are good, and I think we hold ourselves to very high standards, and I think that helps us in the long run. I think our schedule has definitely helped us. We were kind of nervous going into Arizona State, getting to play those bigger schools, but I think that has only boosted our confidence even more.
Let's talk about your team. Let's talk about your offense since you've mentioned them a little bit here. You mentioned it. They're hitting 292 as a team. Who are some of the players that have stood out to you? Obviously, Maggie O'Brien leads the team at 371. You got obviously Tucker at 370, has 4 home runs, 18 RBIs. Sydney Ross has 29 RBIs to lead the team there. Sydney, obviously, he's got 7 homers, 21. Just talk about some of these individuals that have helped on the offensive end first.
Oh gosh, I think there's so many that I could name that know their role. I would definitely Lindsay Tucker. I think coming in, she was primarily a slapper. So I think getting to see her grow and be able to be the power hitter that we always knew that she could be is something that's really cool. And I think she's carried over from last year, her success from last year. And I think she's only building on it. Maggie, you always know that Maggie's going to go up there and have good at bats. I would say that I dislike pitching to her when we do live stuff because I know she's going to foul so many of my balls off and going to make me throw a lot of pitches. And I think that she does that for um, a lot of teams that we face. You know, Sydney Ross has definitely started to find her swing a little bit more, and I love seeing that. I love the success that she's having, uh, and not only on the hitting side, but the catching side too. She is the one that calls all the pitches, so I think her finally people are getting to see the recognition that she deserves. And then Sydney Thomason. I mean, coming in from Nebraska Kearney, that D2 and being able to step up to the plate at the Division 1 level is just awesome to see. And I know that she's only going to go up from here.
No doubt. Pitching wise, obviously you get a lot of attention and rightfully so, but you're not alone. You've got a staff with
No,
you there. You got a deep staff. Just tell me about this staff. because you've got up to four arms that throw a lot, whether it be in relief, whether it's starting games. A lot of versatility there. Tell me about
Mhm.
your fellow pitchers.
I think we look deeper than we actually get used. Mike doesn't use as much as he um, could, I would say. Not that that's bad. Me and Neismer feel pretty confident um, with our with each other, and I think we know that whether she's out there or I'm out there, we know that we're going to give 100%. And I know that she's got my back and I have hers. But I think the games that our other pitchers have gotten to throw, I think it has shown a lot of growth from last year. And I think Tatum Monalago coming in this freshman year and being able to go in against some of the big schools and being able to shut them down is definitely going to help her when Niceber and I graduate. So that's been super cool to see.
You mentioned Mike. That's Mike Hurd, obviously your head coach. What's it like playing for him?
He's a very laid back guy. Which I think is different from the coaching staff that I had before. They were a little more I wouldn't say intense because I feel like Mike's an intense guy, but he just brings this kind of I'm gonna let you do what you know how to do. And I think that kind of helps us play loose, which is definitely something that I love being able to do. We know within ourselves what we need to do each at bat and each time we step onto the field. So knowing that he has confidence in us, but also having confidence in ourselves is something that's really cool.
Tell me about the rest of the coaching staff there and who you work with the most and how they all click as a coaching staff.
Yeah, Mike has kind of taken over the pitching side of things. This last year, I would say more so. Jen Darrow focuses on kind of the hitting aspect of it, and I think she's gained a lot of knowledge just in this past year. I mean, the jump that our hitters have made is incredible, and all the drills that she brings into practice. I'm like, can you tell me a little bit about that drill? Because I'm like, I've never seen that one before. And then Emma Robbie, she's a bunch of fun. She came from Mizzou, so allowing her to kind of put onto us the experiences that she had, I think she's helped our infielders a lot. And I think overall, each coach, might have their own different aspect of the game that they take over, but collectively, they're all just great coaches to play for.
And they're coaches that are not afraid to challenge you. You've mentioned the schedule. You have gone out west twice to Tucson, to have played in Tempe. I want to ask you, what was it like to play at Arizona, one of the most famous stadiums with the history there out west there? What was it like? I know it didn't go well from a win-loss record, but still, that's not, that's a pretty cool place to say, hey, years down the road, you said, hey, I got to pitch and play in a stadium like at Arizona.
Absolutely, it was incredible, and just to see like all of the history on like the walls and their outfield. Mike Kendra is an incredible coach. We actually got to see him, not meet him, which unfortunately, but we saw him up in the press box and everybody was like pointing like that's Mike Kendra. So it was just super cool. The atmosphere there was awesome. Their dirt is very hard though. So they know the dirt that they play on. So they definitely played that to their advantage. I mean, us playing on turf, going to that hard dirt was definitely, a challenge for us, but I think that we made the most of it and we played the best we could.
You did, and you played in Tempe. You beat Arizona State at their home. You beat JMU there, by the way, as well. But tell me about that win against Arizona State in their place.
I mean, I love pitching night games. I felt like the atmosphere there was really cool. Some of the plays that my defense made behind me really fired me up, and I felt like that was probably the game that I was most fired up. I think Arizona State has an incredible offense that they go to a lot. So that was kind of like a confidence booster for me, knowing that I kind of kept them off balance and was able to hold them to, I think it was maybe 1 or 2 runs. I can't remember exactly, but that was just a really cool moment for me and will definitely be one that I remember for the rest of my life.
You held them to 1 run. You beat them 3-1 the final. You held them to 6 hits in the game, and you struck out 10. That's pretty good. Pretty
I did
good.
not know that I had that many strikeouts,
That's why
but
I'm
yeah,
here. That's why I'm here. I'll just remind you as I throw in the box scores there. But that had to be I mean, that was fascinating because, obviously you had, the week before you had played in Commerce. It seemed like you got your mojo back after a tough trip at Tucson there. Did you sense that turnaround in Commerce, Texas, or do you think it was Tempe, the turnaround there?
I think it was Tempe. I think for me in Commerce, I definitely didn't pitch to my abilities that I feel I am as a pitcher. So I think being able to go into Tempe and, feel loose and feel confident in my stuff that I was throwing was definitely, I would say, like a turning point for me.
I joked at one point you should be you're the front you're on top of the Big Ten standings because you swept Purdue. But then you go to Nebraska, which obviously it's a huge game in the state. You're going to bowling. I mean, I can't imagine, but that has to be like I'm sure you all were hyped going into that game and wanted to make a statement there. What was it like to win at Nebraska?
It was just a super cool opportunity. I think Nebraska is a great school. Their coaches are awesome. My mom actually played with Diane Miller at Missouri Southern. So
Oh.
having that connection and just being able to, kind of relate to Nebraska in a way. But we were definitely going into that game hyped in the 5 years that me and the other seniors have been here. We haven't beat them. So we're definitely going out with a bang. So, and I think Nebraska fans are just awesome overall. So it was just a really cool experience to have the fans that we had there, cheering for us in those big moments and being able to help put Omaha on the map a little more.
Did y'all have a chip on your shoulder? They got a lot of attention in the offseason, rightfully so. They added, Jordy Ball. There was this hoopla there. She's unfortunately got
Yes.
hurt. But did that you all use that as a chip on the shoulder? It's like, hey, they're not. This state is not just about Nebraska. It's about us too here.
I think we've always had a little bit of a chip on our shoulder. I think there's a healthy rivalry between the two. And I think that, those are the fun games to play. The in-state games, knowing some of the girls that are on the other team, I think it just brings a sense of like Nebraska softball is good. No matter what school you're at, Nebraska softball is good. And I think that gives the state a lot of recognition that it deserves.
Describe what's it like playing softball in the state of Nebraska.
It's awesome. I mean, the fans are great no matter if you go to Omaha, you go to Nebraska. I think you always have fans from other schools cheering you on. So I think it's a really super cool opportunity. And I think for me, Iowa is just a state away, my hometown. So knowing that I have some fans there too supporting me, even though I'm in Nebraska red, when a bunch of my family's Hawkeye colors, it's just super awesome.
So you got this podcast thing down pat because you just read my mind. I was going to segue to that. Is how did you end up in? Let's first start with this. How did you end up first growing up playing softball? What got you into playing softball?
My mom and dad were my coaches, so they always were kind of, putting me. We always had a team. We won. I think it was 10U U triple SA. We played in Fort Dodge. I don't remember exactly, but that was just a super cool experience. And being able to also play the high school state championship is at Fort Dodge. So being able to make it back there a couple of times, I think I made it 2 or 3 out of the 5 years that I was in high school. Because in Iowa, we get to play our eighth grade year for high school. So I was on varsity my eighth grade year. So that was a really cool experience being able to, kind of look at where I was when I was 10 years old, be able to say that I played on this exact field. Never won a state championship, but the experiences were awesome.
Did you have any favorite players growing up? Any athletes that you like enjoyed, you admired?
I feel like I didn't necessarily watch softball as much as I do now, but I would definitely say Jenny Finch was one
Yeah.
that was really cool to watch. And I actually went, I think it was the PGF Nationals. We were out there and I was able to see her coaching the All-Star game. So just getting to
Ooh.
see her in person, not necessarily meeting her, but just being able to see her, it was kind of cool.
See, you got to be aggressive and just introduce yourself in the future. You're like, I saw about, you gotta be
I
the
know.
aggressive there. Well, that's funny you
I know,
mentioned
right?
Jenny Finch because then you get to play the stadium where she made her career, your name for herself there at Arizona.
Yeah. Yep.
You probably saw all her pictures of her in that stadium. There.
Absolutely.
You mentioned your family. You're from Iowa. Your family are Hawkeye fans. Uh,
Yes.
so the question is, how did you end up in Omaha?
I played on Iowa Premier for I think it was one fall, and we were down at a tournament in Kansas City, I think, or Olathe, and Riv and Tatum, Amanda Eberhart, they were down there watching me, and then just a couple phone calls with Riv, and I had a visit, and it felt like a place that wasn't too far away from home. 4 hours, getting out of the parents' house, but also a place where they would be able to, make it to games, home games that I had every weekend, and just continue to have that support. And I think Omaha was a place that felt like home. So that kind of made my decision. Yeah,
Pretty good, yeah.
yeah.
You had a kind of a journey. You mentioned it. Obviously, you've had to play for multiple head coaches. What is that
Mhm.
like? How does that adjustment like, as from a player standpoint? You go from one coach that you committed, you're going to play for. Next thing you know, things change. There's a new coach coming in. What was that like to go through?
I think it was difficult at the start having a close relationship with those coaches. Obviously, they were the ones that recruited me. So having a different coach come in, I think it was important for me to rebuild, or not rebuild, but build a different relationship with Mike. And I think over the 3 years, we have gained a really good relationship. And I think that has definitely been very important for me, especially having a new coach because I was so close with the other ones. So, but the transition itself, I would say, has been pretty easy. Like I said, Mike is super easygoing. So, yeah.
I think a lot of people started taking notice of you in 2022. You made all Summit that year. Your team kind of take some big steps up there. If I remember, you got to the conference championship, I want to say, against a very talented South Dakota State team, which we'll talk a lot about here because I'm always fascinated with both your teams play. But what do you agree with that? That 2022 was kind of a turning point as far as it seemed like you took it to a different level.
Yeah, that seems like so many years ago for me. But I would say definitely my junior year was one that I felt super comfortable and super confident in myself versus, my freshman and sophomore year weren't the best. I coming into college, it was definitely a big adjustment. I was used to high school throwing about every game and then coming and everybody is just as good as you, if not better. So I think that was something that I had to adjust to the hitters because Iowa high school hitters compared to Division 1 is definitely like two different spectrums. So for me, that was a big adjustment. I kind of had the yips my freshman year, and then COVID hit. So that those whole first 2 years were kind of just like a blur.
Yeah. But is that a lesson too that you could tell other players that hey, if things don't go well early, don't lose confidence, right? Because it could come. Some for everybody is a little different. It'll fit. You'll figure it out eventually.
Yeah, 100%. And I think I tell a lot of people that you're so much more than the game of softball. Because I think in those first 2 years, I thought that softball was the only thing that mattered about me, and I think that is the complete opposite. Like you don't softball does not define you, and I think a lot of people sometimes see it as that. So I think being able to know that you're a good person not because of softball, like that's just like so. I think especially to the young players, don't get discouraged when things don't go your way. Because I mean, my freshman year, I had I don't know how many home runs and walks off of me, but being able to see the growth that I made from my freshman year to now just is a testament to that.
No doubt. I think that's a great message, especially as a pitcher. Because I've always been told from other pitchers, you have to learn one of the things you have to learn in college is have a short memory. Because you're
Mm-hmm.
not going to dominate like you did in high school, right? Because everybody's so talented in college level, so sometimes it does take a bit of an adjustment period from that standpoint, and you have to have a short memory so you can kind of focus on that next pitch.
100%. And I think that I've really started to learn that, I would say, my junior year on, figuring out, okay, you threw a pitch right down the middle, they hit a home run. Who cares? one run doesn't hurt you. Now, if it was a grand slam, that'd be a little different. But just being able to have the confidence in my
Sure.
teammates to know that they're going to score runs for me is something that has definitely helped with the mental side of my game.
I mentioned 2022. You made that run to the championship game against a talented South Dakota State team. That year they were getting a lot of attention. They had
Mm-hmm.
two aces on their pitching staff. They had great offense and everything. But you took them to the brink of elimination there, to the point where I think I remember we had to wait till Sunday to see who you won because there were some weather issues there. So you were holding up the
It always
bracket.
it always seems to be that way with the Summit League. Last year we had issues too with rain and unplayable field conditions and stuff like that. So I don't know if you know this or not, but we had to stop in, I don't remember what inning it was, but halfway through our game, and then we had to pick it up the next day
Yeah.
because of the weather. Yeah. So I think that the weather has always had something to do with the Summit League championship games, no matter what year it is.
Yeah, didn't you have to play like technically 3 games one day or something, or at least came close to that? You know, continue one game, finish another.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's always wild. To your point, it's the schedule never goes as planned.
Exactly.
No matter where the tournament's held at. By the way, we're not throwing shade at anybody that's been hosting
Right.
the tournament. It's just
Right.
the nature. But tell me about that experience in 22. I know it didn't end the way you would have wanted, but I felt like that was a big step for the program and that you used that for the following year. Am I accurate in that? Because from afar, that's what it seemed like, that you grew from that experience and it carried you momentum, that momentum and then motivation to the following year. But what was that 22 run like? Because I don't think people saw that coming.
I think we always have a little bit of a chip on our shoulder. SCSU and us always seems to be the ones that are together in the championship, and we knew that. Um, I don't remember what game we lost, but we knew that we had to beat them twice. So we came out swinging that first game, um, ended up winning that one, and then having to play back to back. Um, but I think that definitely showed us what we can do. And I think we carried that into last year. And even though when we played them actually in conference, they swept us. But I mean, we also took that as a learning moment and figured out what we need to do against their pitchers and what we need to do against their offense. And we ended up being very successful in the conference tournament in 2023. Being able to make it to the NCAA regionals was super awesome.
That's right. You beat them in the championship. It was you and Tori Kanish, which, at least from the outside, we always circle that matchup pitching wise. It's one of the best pitching matchups. We call it a rivalry. I'm not going to make you comment on that. But what was it like? Because that was an incredible game, a championship game. 1-0. I think you held them to one hitter to win that championship. Take me through that game because she pitched great. You pitched. It was a cool old fashioned pitchers duel between two great pitchers.
Yeah, 100%. Tori is an amazing pitcher, and she does a lot of great things for South Dakota State. I think, like I said, with all of the weather issues that went on, we just tried to stay loose and stay positive, and just whenever we stepped on the field, we knew the job that we had to do. So I think, I don't remember what inning it was, we scored that one run. And then I knew that coming in the next day with a 1-0 lead, Tori's a great pitcher. I'm going to need to hold this offense to no runs. And I was able to do that with awesome defense behind me. We had some awesome defensive plays. I think Mara Kramer had a diving catch in center field that was probably a big momentum shift for us. So, always being confident in my defense behind me and knowing that they're going to make those plays. And we did. And then it was super awesome. We watched the videos back because it's in our, our when we have home games, our little
Video
video at
package,
the beginning.
yeah.
Yeah. So we always have the last pop up to Maggie O'Brien, and then she slams it on the ground, and then we all kind of come together. So that it's an awesome moment to relive.
What do you remember when that final out was recorded? Do you remember what went through your mind?
Oh man, I don't even know if anything was going through my mind. I think just the thought of we did this, but I don't think it was actually setting in until we got on the plane to go down to Baton Rouge. That was, I mean, that whole weekend was just something that we worked our butts off for. and being able to, finally say that we got over the hump. We got over the hump of SJSU, I would say. Because it's always us in a dogfight. But yeah, that was just a super cool moment that I will always remember.
What was it like watching that selection show and to see your name pop up in Baton Rouge Regional? Because you knew you were in, but still,
Yeah.
there's a sense of pride there that that first ever NCAA tournament appearance there for that for y'all. What was that like seeing that on the selection show on TV?
Well, we were all sitting on the bus on our way home from
Oh, that's
SDSU.
right, because you're playing this Sunday. Of course, there's that
Yep,
beauty weather. Yeah.
yes. So there's actually a video of us. We have like the red lights on. Everybody's sitting watching the screen, and our name pops up, and we just all erupt. It was like the coolest moment ever was seeing, our name NCAA regionals and getting to go to a place that we had never gone before. So it was just it was overall just an awesome. You could see the faces on everybody. It was just like, oh yeah, we're gonna go do this. We're gonna go put Omaha on the map a little more than we already are.
Describe that regional playing in Baton Rouge, playing at Tiger Park, one of the most best stadiums in the country when it comes to softball. In a pretty stacked regional with LSU and Louisiana and Prairie View. Obviously, you beat Prairie View to get that program's first win. You were lined up with a talented Louisiana team. What was that experience like?
I mean, even though it didn't go the way we wanted, I think the experiences that we gained from it, playing Louisiana, who went out and beat Oklahoma this year. So, excuse me, being able to, put our best foot forward and play them as well as we could have, and then being able to get the first win in D1 history in the NCAA regionals against Prairie View was just a super special moment. I think that we went out there every game knowing that we have the capability to beat those teams. We had the capability to beat, I think, anybody that we play. So just going out there with confidence, playing loose, like I've said before, and just I think taking in the moment was the biggest thing. Don't stress about the game, just take in the moment that you're in right now. And I think we all did that. And even though the outcome wasn't what we wanted, I think the experiences will definitely stay with us for a lifetime.
If you get another opportunity to get back there, because there's no guarantees, there's a lot of softball, things happen. But if you do get that opportunity to get back, what will you think about that you didn't know last year when you got to that regional? What would be some things you learned? You're like, okay, if I get back there next year, I'm going to make sure that I either do this or don't do this.
That's a tough question. I'm not sure. I'm gonna say I don't know to that one
You like
because
you
I'm not.
you didn't
I
feel
don't feel.
you felt like the team was locked in. It wasn't like, hey, we're just happy to be here. You felt you guys were locked in. That there wasn't any of that like, oh, we don't know what we're doing now that we do know.
I think there may have been like in the Louisiana games, we may have like dropped off a little bit, like our
Sure.
energy. They got some runs on us, but I think knowing how well our offense is this year, and I think the people in the dugout, the people on the field, just continuing to have confidence, knowing that we are going to score runs, even if someone else. So being able to just keep the momentum going up instead of, kind of just like a plateau. That would be the one thing.
How are you a different pitcher today than you were, say, a year ago or 2 years ago?
I think my mental side has definitely grown a lot. Like we talked about, taking it pitch to pitch, not letting the last pitch affect you. But I also think I have incorporated a couple more pitches into like at bats a lot more, which I think is going to help um, keep hitters off balance for me. It changed my windup just a little bit, not a lot, but I think those are just the adjustments that I made this year. I think I'm still the same Kamryn Meyer that I have been the last few years, just a little bit aged.
Benefit age. God, that's hilarious. Love that. What an answer. Um, Describe playing the Summitt League. I enjoy watching the Summitt League. Coach Mueller in North Dakota State always has good teams, competitive, solid, strong teams. South Dakota State's been on a great run. Tori Kanisha's still there. They beat Arkansas this year. Just describe the league for those that don't follow it on a daily basis.
it's competitive one through, I think we have 6 teams in the league now. But you always know that it's going to be a fight no matter what team you're playing that weekend. So I think that we just have to know that we have to go out there with our best stuff every time. But I think you look at like what South Dakota State has done, what we've done, what some of the other teams have done in the Summit. I don't think that the Summit League necessarily gets the recognition that I think it should. I mean, we are a mid-major, but I think that being able to play those top teams and kind of help put not only our school on the map, but also the Summit League, I think we're starting to kind of get the recognition that I think the Summit League deserves.
No doubt. I tend to agree with that. How for anyone that hasn't watched you pitch, how would you describe Kamryn Meyer? Hey, when you go to the park and see Kamryn Meyer pitch, this is what you're going to see.
Probably a lot of rise balls. I think when people look at me, they just see, oh gosh, I hate talking about myself. Um, like confidence, a little bit of cocky, but confidence. I think a lot of communication with not only Sydney Ross, but also the defense behind me is something that I've been a lot better about. Kind of when you get into those lulls, you kind of just want to isolate yourself. But I think that you will constantly see me talking to um, either Sydney or my infield, outfield, whoever it is, hyping up my teammates, even if I'm not on the mound. But yeah, a lot of rice balls, I would say.
Are you a passionate? Are you very intense? Like, do you have your emotions on your sleeve, or do you hide that when you pitch?
I I think I would hide I think I hide my emotions well for the most part. There are some times where I get, hyped up on those big strikeouts. I think when I came in versus North Dakota State this last weekend, I think runners were on second and third. Neismer had pitched an amazing game, held them to 1 hit, and then they strung a few hits together in that last inning. But being able to come in and throw 3 straight strikeouts was kind of hyped me up a little bit. So at the end, I think there's a video of me screaming. So there's a few moments that I'll get super fired up, whether that's on a strikeout or the end of an inning. But yeah.
Now, listen, I'm gonna have to talk to you yesterday. I need to see some of these video footages you're telling me about here. This sounds pretty intriguing there. And listen, you mentioned like you're confident. I think every pitcher has to have that to be successful, don't you? You have to be confident. I don't think, when people say cocky, that somehow it's a negative connotation. I don't really look at it as a negative connotation. I think you have to have that because
Right.
you're in an island. You have to have that to be successful. I believe. Don't Is that a
Yeah,
fair assessment?
I would agree. I mean, you're the one in control of the whole game, which is something that I love having.
Fair.
But yeah, I think confidence and cocky sometimes intertwine a lot, which definitely a positive thing. Having to go out there with a little bit of swagger, like you're playing Division 1 softball, you got to be confident in your stuff, or you wouldn't be there. Have a little bit of cockiness. Your teammates love that. They feed off of that, and I think my defense definitely feeds off of that. I would say that Neismer is great about firing up the team a little bit more than I am. She really gets into those double plays and stuff like that. So I think we balance each other super well.
Is she like one of the more vocal leaders on the team?
I would say I think a lot of us upperclassmen are leaders in different ways. I might not be like a vocal leader, but I'm going to lead by example. And I think that we have a great balance of the leaders on this team being ones that, lead by example, ones that lead by their words.
You've excelled as a starter. You've excelled as a reliever, as a closer. Is your mindset different when you're starting versus your number gets called to come in relief? Is there a difference there?
Um, I definitely would say that I'm a lot better as a starter.
Sure.
I'm not as I'm not as confident in myself coming in. I would rather start an inning with fresh instead of like
Sure.
coming in when there's like runners on that are out of my control. So having that control aspect kind of taken away from me is something that I get a little more hesitant with the pitches that I'm throwing. But I don't know. I do love starting more. but I think I've embraced the role of being able to come in as a closer.
Well, the numbers suggest you've embraced it. You've done really well. So you're very modest there. I don't want, you don't feel, you might want to have more confidence because you've been very good on
Thank
that.
you.
What do you want to do post softball? First of all, do you want to play professionally? Is that something you're going to look out, or is this it for you?
This is going to be it for me. I actually am engaged, so I will get married September 7th, which is coming up very fast.
Wow!
Yeah,
Congrats!
yeah. Thank you. Moved back home. Um, and I'm hoping to find a teaching job somewhere in the community that I live around. So
Do you want?
a
Where do you want?
lot of
Where do you want to live at?
Wilton.
Okay,
Yeah.
right back
Yep.
home.
Yeah, right back home. Hopefully a little bit of farmland, have some buildings on it. But yeah.
I was going to say, describe Will in Iowa for anybody that's not been there.
Mm, small. Well, I went to Durant, but my address is Wilton, so I say Wilton. And I also coach softball at Wilton. So um a lot of cornfields, not there's like no fast food places in it. It's just a very small town. I graduated with 50 in my class. And then I come to Omaha and a bunch of my teammates are like, I graduated with 500. I'm like, okay, we are not the same. But yeah, just super small, which I think in turn helps having like a tight knit community, being able to know, the person that you live next to and being able to build all of those relationships.
The conference might have a sense of humor. They've scheduled your senior weekend. You're hosting South Dakota State. Like you're like what?
We we actually are having our senior weekend versus UMKC.
Oh, you moved it up.
We did.
Oh, what was that? What led to that decision? Just because you just wanted to not have that distraction on that big series potentially, or is it just random?
Um, I think yeah, probably just not making it bigger than that
Sure.
game needed to be.
Okay, smart. I get that.
Yeah.
Makes a ton of sense.
Yep.
Where's the conference tournament at this year? Do you remember?
Brookings.
What is it like playing there?
Hmm. They have a great facility that we practice in. Be able to warm up in. Um, it's hard to really say because of all the like weather issues that we've had in the past.
Sure.
So we haven't had like a nice time in Brookings to be able to say that, we really enjoy playing there because obviously we'd rather be playing, at the Connie Clausen. But that's just how the cards fell. But nothing to take away from South Dakota State. I think that their program is awesome. Um, I think turf's a little easier to work with in weather conditions that we've unfortunately had to deal with in the past.
Describe your own stadium.
Awesome. I think that anybody who ever comes to Omaha needs to come look at it. I being able to have baseball on one side and softball on the other. Have you seen a picture of it?
No.
You'll have to see a picture of it. So it's like you walk up the stairs, softball's on the left, baseball's on the right, and there's like it's like the press box, but it like splits into two different. So this
Okay,
side is
so
baseball,
it's
this side is softball.
so it's
Yep.
a competitive deal. I think South
Yes.
Florida has that here in Tampa, in the Tampa area, the
Gotcha.
baseball and
Yep.
softball, where they have foul balls. They have to play in different times because of the foul balls going back and forth. Do you have that same issue?
Yeah. Well, it's not as much softball going on to baseball as baseball coming on to softball.
There you go.
I would say it doesn't happen very often, but and I don't think that it usually happens when an actual play is going on. It's like during when someone is like when the warm up pitches are coming. So it doesn't really interfere as much. We have nets to kind of help block that, but it's just a really awesome facility. You could be watching softball at 1 second and then go over and check out the baseball game.
Have you, obviously in Omaha, everybody, when people think of Omaha, they think of the Men's College World Series. Have you attended a Men's College World Series yet?
I have not, but Sydney Ross actually worked the Men's College World Series.
Whoa!
Yes. She was one of the ball girls. And then JL Johnson was with some of the photographers. So she photographed some of the Men's College World Series. She's an amazing photographer. So I think that was a really cool opportunity for her.
That is,
But yeah,
wow.
yeah. I've never been though, unfortunately. I'd love
You,
to go.
you've got, get a hookup. Hello.
Well, I go home in the summer. I would go
That's
home
true.
in the
That
summer.
is late. They do play that World Series very late.
Yeah.
Speak of your catcher and what she's meant to you as far as the success.
She is just, I think, such a light to our team. She's always smiling. You'll always catch her, trying to brighten someone's day. I think not a lot of Division I schools have their catchers calling every single game. Like Sydney calls every single pitch, so I would love to know how many of the strikeouts that I've thrown she has called versus I would say it's probably at least 800. But I think she's just being able to see the growth that she's made throughout the 5 years that we've been together and having her we communicate very well, and I think that we have that like telepathy of knowing what what pitch I want to throw and what pitch is going to get this person out. So just having her and being that comfort aspect for me out on the mound has been something that has been super special, and she's just overall an amazing person.
That's pretty awesome that she calls the game. What happens?
Yes.
What happens on those? I'm sure rare times where you shake her off.
Should we just call a different pitch?
Okay, all
And
right. So
and
she's
if no,
okay. She's versatile.
yeah, she's very flexible. She's like, okay, you don't want to throw this pitch, we'll throw this one. And I either shake again or nod my head. And then if a home run gets hit, that's on me.
Does she say it's on me if she called the pitch?
uh, there's been sometimes, but I'm like, yeah, it was flat. It was right down the middle. I mean, if they're not hitting that over the fence, then I don't know.
But she's very important, obviously, because she gives you feedback, right? What she sees, because nobody see. She probably has the best perspective on how you're throwing that particular day. So she's, and there's probably an honesty there
Hmm.
that you really appreciate. That maybe maybe at times she tells you things you don't want to hear, but you need to hear.
Right. And I think I'm that type of player, tell me that my pitches are flat. Like fire me up a little bit, light a fire under my butt.
Yes,
But I think she also does it in a way that it's like it's not aggressive. Like it's not she's not yelling at me.
right.
It's like we have that way of communication that we can openly talk about and openly give each other feedback on those types of things, which I think is super important in a battery.
I agree. I remember we had on Megan Willis at one time, the former Texas great catcher who caught Cat Osterman for many years, and she said that was the thing that she would be. She knew Cat's personality, but they knew each other so well. But she would be honest with her, like push her,
Mm-hmm.
and knew
Yeah,
which buttons to push in a way during the game to get the most out of them. Because she said, as a catcher, that's part of your job is to make sure you get the most out of your pitcher. It's not just catching their pitches; is to kind of get a feel for how they're feeling.
100%.
That's awesome. That's a fantastic story. You shared many great stories. I will let you go on this last question. You got a lot of softball when you get back here. What's going to be the keys for this team to accomplish your internal goals here, moving here the second half of the year?
I think just continuing to trust the process that we've had leading up to this, trusting ourselves, going out there with confidence in our bats and in our defense and in our pitching, um, because we know how good we can be. And I don't even think that we're there yet, but we're showing great signs of it. And I think just everybody being able to do that role, whether they're someone that's in the dugout, someone on the field, someone that's only hitting, like being able to embrace the role that they are in and give their 110% every time they step on the field. I think, and then I think just being able to play loose and having confidence within one another and just, we're out there having fun instead of taking it, we have to win this game. Like, obviously, everybody wants to win, or else you wouldn't be playing Division I softball. But I think just knowing that everybody has confidence in each other and that we know that we're going to succeed.
Very good. That's good advice there. 5, 10 years from now, when your comeback alumni weekend, people bring up the name Kamryn Meyer. What do you want them to say about you?
Oh man. Um,
Because you're leaving a great legacy. You and this group is leaving a great legacy to the program, the university.
I think just how we helped build the program. I think in my 5 years, this program has made tremendous jumps. Obviously, the new softball field going up, that happened my sophomore year, I want to say. I think sophomore year. And just that I was a fun player to watch. I
Definitely,
would say.
I can concur. You're a fun player to
Yeah.
watch. You're a great player to watch. Thank you so much for taking the time for to talk to us about your career, about the program. Like I said, I've been a fan since I've been, like I said, 2022 is when I really started taking notice of you. I've been following you since there, and I think a lot of softball fans have been taking notice as well. Good luck the rest of the year, and enjoy it and take it all in. And thank you for talking to us here on In the Circle and D1 Softball, and really appreciate you for doing this.
Yeah. Thank you for all the kind words and for having me on this podcast. I appreciate it.